Greetings, everyone. This is Rock and Roll Spot coming at you with the weekly comic book roundup. We've got quite the haul this week, so let's get started. Kicking things off, we've got X-Men number 13, which ties into Avengers X-Men Eternals Judgment Day. Where we'd left off, well, a new Celestial has been made out of the Celestial corpse that the Avengers were using as a headquarters, and it basically just said, "Hey, Earth, people of Earth, 24 hours, make your case." So we open with a quote from Jean: "We'll be judged regardless of our actions. So let us be exactly who we are in our hearts." Okay, but we open with the battle against the Hex. Appears to be going. We find out that Forge was also involved. He built a small. He built an artillery piece. It fires nanites, which become crystalline, and it hits one of the Hex. The idea being that eventually she'll be crystallized in it, and then in hibernation. But Jean realizes that what they need to do is stem the flow of the Eternals. So she contacts Icarus, who informs her that the Hex are powerful Eternals, developed from the armories of their people through subspace connections. They're killed, and if they're killed, they'll only return. There's supply routes that must be stopped. There's an armory beneath the Earth's crust. Closest access for Krakoa would be at the bottom of the Pacific, but there are two problems. Firstly, their present power source is the arsenal of Uranus, protected by the endless weaponry and machines he stores therein. Maybe a suicide mission for any who attempt it. Secondly, non-Eternals cannot access the vault, but he thinks he'll be able to punch. But Icarus thinks he'll be able to punch them in. But he asks one thing. He asks that they not kill any Eternals. Though he does not state why. But so Sync, Forge, Magic, Havoc, and Iceman are the strike team. And Firestar. On their way to the entrance of the bottom of the Pacific. Iceman gets cut in half by one of the Hex, so Sync syncs up with Iceman to help things go the way they're supposed to. Magic teleports everyone in. It takes a bit with all of them attacking, but they're able to take down. They are able to stop the armories. And as they return to Krakoa, however, the new Celestial wakes and basically says, "Okay, judgment time." And we end with a letter from to Emma Frost from Bart Jones, Firestar's father. Basically just kind of saying, "Okay, what kind of game are you playing with my daughter?" And that is where the issue ends. Now, one thing that was left unanswered in the issue was, how did Icarus manage to get the X-Men into the armories? Well, that the answer comes in our next book, Avengers X-Men Eternals: Death to the Mutants. Has a rather striking name, but well, it's not exactly accurate. The issue largely focuses on the Eternals working with the Eternals who have left the Eternal Society: Cersei, Icarus, Ajax, Makari, and so forth. They're working on a plan, though it turns out Phastos realizes that it seems Ajax already had inklings of the plan, and suggests that perhaps she might have maybe whispered things into Druig's ear, but after learning a few things in Lemuria, Icarus goes and recruits Gilgamesh. Turns out that the Eternals are focused on a two-pronged attack on Krakoa. First is the Hex. Secondly, are the is psychic warfare. It's explained that basically it's explained in video game terms. Mutants do a lot more damage, but Eternals have a lot more hit points. Gilgamesh, Icarus, and Sprite enter the exclusion and do some damage to the one of the various machines coordinating everything. As they leave, Icarus also manages to make the basically turn the telepathic battle in the favor of the X-Men. The Eternal comes online. It turns out that Icarus, the mission into the exclusion, is what allowed the X-Men to enter the armories. But Drew recalls the Eternal's forces, and as Icarus, Sprite, and Gilgamesh leave, Icarus uses his eye beams to burn into one of the walls, death to the Eternals. And this is actually the beginning of a mini. Looks like this is the beginning of a mini-series. We'll see, which will likely see the Deviants getting involved on the side of the X-Men. That is where the issue ends. Now, our next Judgment Day tie-in, I think it feels more like it takes place before the events of Judgment Day. That would be X-Force number 30. So, where we left off in X-Force, Deadpool had managed to convince Krakoa to let him join X-Force, and a decision had been made to bring Omega Red onto X-Force. However, Kid Omega had been killed, and his backups were seemingly gone, and so he's apparently gone. Which the issue begins with Wolverine talking to one of the trees on Krakoa about this, and he does some damage. He attacks the tree, but him and Xavier talk a bit, and Wolverine kind of just says that for the moment he's done believing in Krakoa until he gets some answers. the North Pole, Craven is wandering. He kills a seal, eats part of it, and uses the rest as bait for a polar bear. A scarred polar bear, actually. He kills the polar bear, and while gutting it, finds Deadpool's head within it. But Deadpool is being Deadpool and just kind of talking to anybody who will stick around while he yammers on to about, you know, being part of X-Force, or about being welcome on the island at least. They have a briefing, and Mega Red shows up. Him and Deadpool. Well, Mega Red smacks him around a little. And we have entries from both Beast's logbook and Sage's logbook. Beast in Beast's logbook, he explains that basically the gates seem to be flooded with people for various reasons. People wanting to, once again, protesters, as well as those so it's explained. The gates are impossible right now. A veritable mosh pit of protesters and beggars stands before each one. As for northern exposure, it turns out that due to climate change, parts of the Arctic have melted a bit, and there's a new. Basically, there's a new means of smuggling mutants, trafficking mutants. So Deadpool and Mega Red are being sent to shut it down. Black Tom and Domino are going to be dealing with the gate situation. In Utah, at one particular gate, there's protesters largely outside one of them, and they've taken a prisoner. Angel. Cutting off one of his wings, even. But Tom and Domino go through, disperse the protesters. Meanwhile, Mega Red and Deadpool are dealing with their mission. Deadpool being, well, Deadpool. And getting partially dismembered for it. Which is when the polar bear shows up. But the mutants that are being trafficked are rescued by Omega Red. Then later, Craven walks into a bar in northern Siberia wearing the pelt of the scarred polar bear. Overhears a conversation wherein mutants are described as potentially being the apex predator of the galaxy, which catches Craven's attention, and that is where the issue ends. So, like I said, it doesn't feel all that connected at the moment, but hopefully, as the story continues, it will feel a bit more connected. Moving on to our next book, we've got Dark Crisis Young Justice number 3. Where we left off, Tim, Connor, and Bart were face to face with the Trinity of Trauma. Captain Boomerang, Lex Luthor, and Deathstroke. And the trio seem to have Wonder Girl held prisoner. But Bart and Tim both think that this seems wrong. In part, Deathstroke, Lex, and Digger Harkness working together doesn't really seem all that plausible. And, but Tim and so each of them deals with their cause for trauma. With Impulse even managing to disarm Deathstroke and have him dead to rights. When Cassie tells him that he knows what he needs to do, or to do what he needs to do. But it's explained that by Bart that when he speeds up or slows down, the world looks off. It's like an old computer program with tracking lines leading straight to Cassie. And he starts to wonder if she's controlling him. But yeah, Bart's not going to kill Deathstroke. But the tree of trauma is taken down, and when Tim goes to break up a fight between Bart and Connor, he turns and the three of them are gone. The Trinity of Trauma, that is. But Bart voices his concerns, but ends up leaving. The three split up. Bart runs so fast, however, that he has outrun what's going on, and he realizes it's a lot like the virtual reality program that he was raised in before he came to the past. So in the digital world, everything took a minute or two to load. And Cassie shows up, and he notes and points out, hey, everyone loves him. He's on T-shirts, and Bart asks, "What's the cost?" And Cassie snaps her fingers, and then we catch up with Tim looking at Gotham. It looks almost peaceful. And again, it's like she tells him that, yeah, okay, but he wants to go back to the Earth, the timeline he's from, or Earth he's from, whichever it is. But she says, why? If you go back, you'll never be Batman. And once again, she snaps her fingers. She catches up Connor about what happened between her and Tim after Connor's death, and tries to sell him on staying. But he's starting to think, okay, maybe he's actually second thoughts as well. And she says that he's going to be so mad. So Connor asks, who's going to be mad? She snaps her fingers. Three of them are apparently back on at the Justice League Watchtower. They start discussing everything. Connor still seems more on the side of, hey, things aren't bad here. But Cassie tells them that they've been given the chance to accept the world on their own terms. Now, whoever's actually in charge is going to make them accept it, and they're attacked by combined might of the JLA from around the mid '90s era lineup and the Titans, again mid '90s era lineup, and that is where the issue ends. definitely getting interesting. I'm curious to see who's actually running the show on with that world that they're on, simulation, whatever it is. Anyway, moving on to our last book for the moment. We've got The Flash number 785, wrapping up the search for Barry Allen. Where we left off, Wally and Wallace had found Barry. However, when Wally confronted Barry, Barry attacked him, seeing him as Thawne. Wallace, meanwhile, was apparently being brainwashed into accepting the world that Barry's been trapped on, been on. Max Mercury and Jesse Quick were helping a post-apocalyptic Flash, and Jay and Irie, Wally's kids, were on a rather dark Earth that had a Batman-esque Flash. Only he cuts it a little bit further than even Batman does. So we open with Linda Park West talking with Mr. Terrific about her powers and also wanting to rescue her children. She talks him into letting her do so, but a young boy tells Jay and Irie about what happened to Barry on that Earth, and turns out that on the post-apocalyptic Earth, Barry has the last piece of magic left in the world, last bit of hope, and he's got to take it back to where it's from. And so, Max and Jesse have to deal with that. Meanwhile, both Wallace and Wally are dealing with their own things on the Earth they're on. Including Wallace hoping to see his father. Barry stopped from attacking Wally by the appearance of Linda, who promptly punches him, and which snaps Barry out of it. And so Wally explains what happened with the Justice League, and Barry says that they're not dead; they're on planets just like the one he's on. So Barry says he's going to save the Justice League, while Wally deals with everything else. Jay and Irie, their new ally, go after Dark Flash, but their young ally tries to get them to kill Dark Flash. Turns out that their young ally is in fact the mobster who killed Barry's parents. He was also affected by an anti-aging serum that Barry's father had apparently made, and so he gets young every year. He gets younger and younger. But Jay shows up, rescues the kids, but it seems as though the young crime boss has found the watch that Jay and Irie had. But Jay, Irie, and Jay run back to Earth Zero. Post-apocalyptic Barry saves his world, and then Wallace is finally able to truly sees through everything that's happened on he's been dealing with his on the him and Wally are on. Wally, Barry, and Linda all show up, and they all go through the portal. In the Speed Force, Barry breaks off to save the Justice League, while and the Flash family, sans Barry, arrive back at Mr. Trippick's lab, explaining that they're going to do what they do best: save the world. And that is where the issue ends. Which also wraps up the story, as things will pick back up with Wally in Dark Crisis number 4. But that is going to do it for now. As always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Links to my Facebook, Twitter, Patreon, and PayPal can be found in the description box down below. This is Rock and Roll Spock signing off, saying, live long and rock hard.